Welcome to the Our Team Podcast, powered by eXp Realty. Are you an agent looking to level up? Are you someone looking to buy or sell real estate? Fantastic. This is the show for you.
Welcome to the Our Team Podcast. I'm Brian Auer, and it doesn't look like, but I am here with the producer of this show, Eric Johnson. Eric,
He does exist.
Eric does exist. We made some changes to the studio, so he's actually not even on. He's not being filmed right now, which is kind of weird. But it feels good to know that I have the producer here close, near, that can fix things, and especially if we start taking phone calls, which I want to start doing right away. Been watching a lot of really cool podcasts lately where people are taking phone calls and taking live questions and interacting with the audience in a deeper way. And I want to start doing that. I think that'll be fun. But we'll talk about that later. Right now I want to talk about something that has been going on my team here at eXp, and that is we've been really stepping up our game in the area of prospecting. And more specifically, we've been adopting a lot of, Jeb Blunt's Fanatical prospecting. And I think it's really important to make. There's a big distinction between just prospecting, making a few calls, getting beat up a little bit, and doing it again the next day, and repeating, and just kind of limping along and doing that. There's a big difference between that and fanatical prospecting, and so we've been challenging our team to read that book and really internalize it. So we've been taking that book in little, we've all read it pretty much, but now we're going back and we're dissecting it into little bite-sized pieces. And one of the things that I wanted to talk to my team about, and we already did, just had a great meeting about it, was 7 mindsets of fanatical prospecting. The mindsets of it. You know what I'm talking about, Mr. Producer?
I do, because unfortunately we've had it drilled into us.
Yes, I have been doing that to the whole team. The producer of this show has been monitoring that very closely and watching as people are you can tell that people are reading the book because their verbiage changes. You see it in their face, you hear it in what they're saying on the phone, and just casual conversations. I'm hearing a different verbiage being thrown around, and before we even get into the seven mindsets, the reason why we're even talking about this is because a mindset is something that you can control. It's 100% controllable. And of course it drives your actions. When you adopt a fanatical prospecting mindset, you can be in a position to grow when in the face of adversity, when a lot of other people that aren't willing to get fanatical about their prospecting or learn the mindsets of fanatical prospectors, they will just sort of cower in the face of adversity. But if you get radical about your prospecting and employ radical change and implement these changes, then you won't fold up like a cheap old lounge chair.
Well, it's been key currently with the rising interest rates and the ever-changing landscape. If
Absolutely.
You can focus on what you need to do, then it makes everything that much better because you're in a different mindset and you're ready to go after the buyers or the clientele that you weren't originally because they weren't low-hanging fruit.
Exactly. And I think when Jeb was putting up this list of the 7 mindsets of a financial prospector a fanatical prospector, it's all under the auspices of success leaves clues. It's a phrase I've heard many times. Success does leave clues. You find people that are just really, really good at what they do. Look at the trail that they left behind them. It's pretty obvious that they are doing something that's really different than the rest. There's a huge degree of separation between what they're doing and the average person in that same field. So let's look at some of the clues that that we have seen, or that Jeb has assembled from just watching and seeing what it is that makes these fanatical prospectors different. The first one is kind kind of talked about it already, and that is mindset. It's being optimistic and enthusiastic, right? He's noticed that that's something that's very common among people that are just fanatical about it. They're fired up. They wake up and they want to just seize the day. They constantly push themselves. They don't have a mentality of, I'm a victim. There's too many bad things happening in the market right now. They just look at every day as super fresh. It's super new. And I love that. I think that, I definitely want to be that person. I'll be honest with you. Sometimes I'm not, but I do try to wake up as often as possible and remind myself that it's up to me, right? Optimism, enthusiasm, it's up to me. The second one is they're competitive. They're super competitive. They're hardwired to win. And it's funny. I have friends that are like that in every aspect of their life. It doesn't matter if you're walking upstairs next to them and they start running and you start running. Next thing you know, you're having a competition. Everything's a competition. Doesn't matter, if it's a race to the door or a race to the top of the stairs, or it could be sales, it could be non-sales, it could be when you're wired to win, and that's your competitive nature. Meaning you just have to be on top of the leaderboard all the time. That is a mindset that is something that is seen in those that are fanatical prospectors. So that is number 2. Number 3 is confidence. If you have a fanatical prospector's mindset, you are confident, right? You expect a yes, and you're going to get it. We've done a podcast on, always expect yes, because you get. Do you remember that, Mr. Producer?
Well, you're talking about the always asking yes questions, or the other one that we just recently talked about, which was the no's.
Yeah, play to the no. Oh, we should do a podcast on that. That's a really good one. If you expect yes, your attitude is different if you're expecting yes.
But that being said, you have to be confident in it no matter what. Whichever way you're going to work it, you've got to be confident it's going to work.
Yep. If you are always expecting yes, and that's just your mindset, then you can use that same confidence to persuade your prospects. So I think it's really important to just have that mindset, that the confidence that this is going to happen. I'm going to make these calls. I'm going to have a positive outcome, and you just have a confidence that's there, right? The fourth one is they're relentless. They have unstoppable need to achieve. They use rejection as motivational fuel, he calls it. Use rejection as motivational fuel to drive you to get closer to that next yes. Because really, you're going to get a lot of no's in this business. Any sales business, really, you're going to get a lot of no's. But if you use those no's to fuel you and motivate you, use it as motivational fuel to get to that next yes, I think that would mean that you're relentless, right? Number 4, relentless. The fifth mindset of a fanatical prospector is that they're thirsty for knowledge. I heard Brent Gove was talking. I just saw a YouTube short, and he was quoting Eric Worre, who was talking about how if you're thirsty for knowledge, that means, or if you're a leader, then you're thirsty for knowledge. Most people think being a good leader means you're just naturally a good leader, but really, a good leader really never arrives, and you're constantly learning, right? And so I think this fifth mindset, which is thirsty for knowledge, is something that is also a parallel trait of a good leader. And Brent was quoting Eric Worre, and it was along the lines of, look, if you call yourself a good leader, then you better be learning constantly, which means you're reading books, you're listening to podcasts, you're doing all of the things that just fill your mind and your brain with more knowledge. You're staying cutting edge because you're constantly learning. And so That's the same thing with this fifth mindset of a fanatical prospector, and that is that you're thirsty for knowledge, meaning you're reading books, you're delving into podcasts, you're going to seminars, you're going to the events. Some of the greatest people in our business are great because they never miss an event. I would like to try to be that person where I never miss an event. Sometimes I let work get in the way of success, and I miss events, and that's not good. But they're constantly in coaching, constantly in training, constantly rubbing shoulders with others. They're always in the right room. They're thirsty for knowledge. That is the fifth mindset of a fanatical prospector. The sixth one is systematic and efficient. They have systems. They're super efficient. They master their systems. They know how to time block. They know how to blank out or tune out distractions. They know how to use their database well. They're super organized and precise. They've learned how to master their calendar. Is that you?
No.
It's not me. I'm good when it comes to systems. I have a lot of automation. I have a lot of good systems going, but I think sometimes I rely on them too much. Time blocking, I definitely need to work on my time blocking. I'd say I'm very good at pushing time blocking with the team. But if you're going to have a fanatical prospector's mindset, you have to always go back to that. Being efficient and being systematic and treating it, having like a concrete sequential mindset about those things that you just know you have to do, get done on time, every day, time blocking, tuning out distractions. Mastering the calendar to me means you put prospecting on the calendar, and then no matter what comes up, you look at your calendar and you just go, nope, I can't do that because I have prospecting on my calendar. So that's a very healthy mindset to have if you're going to be really fanatical about prospecting. And then the last one is just being adaptable and being flexible, right? I mean, if you have acute situational awareness and you know that you need to make micro adjustments in something, then that's good. If you're able to adapt new ideas. I mean, think about it. If you're constantly learning and you're constantly listening to books and you're rubbing shoulders with people that are doing great things in the industry, you can't get stuck on what you've been doing if you know that someone else has made a tiny little bit of tweak in their prospecting that's really moving the needle and taking off in their business. So because of that, you should have an attitude of, I'm flexible enough, I can adopt this idea. I'm going to adopt it early, right? Because you understand that we're in an ever-changing industry, and you just have to have an attitude of, I'm just going to roll with it. I have to be able to roll with it because it's changing constantly. So having an adaptable and flexible mindset, I think, is also very important. So that's why it's number 7. So those are the 7. The reason I wanted to do this podcast is because as I've been going through this book, it's my 3rd time through the book, by the way, went right through Fanatical Prospecting, knew it was going to be way too much to chew, so I just decided I'm just going to absorb as much as I can, enjoy it, and not think too much of it. I'm just going to go through it once, knowing that I'm going to go through it again and take notes. And now I'm going through it. I'm almost through the 3rd time. I'm taking notes on my notes. and that's why, and that's where this kind of stuff is coming up, because it's causing me to really reflect on it, and I want to share little bits and pieces of things that are important to me with regard to fanatical prospecting with the team and with you guys that I'm hoping gets a little something out of these podcasts. We're in a day and age where you have to be fanatical about your prospecting. You can't just make a few calls. What got you here is not going to get you there. So we have to change. Think about how many calls you made in the previous years to be at a successful place where you're at right now. Well, that's not enough. So you have to have a fanatical mindset. And if you are wondering whether or not you have a fanatical mindset, then consider the 7 mindsets of a fanatical prospector that I just went through. If you're lacking any of those, then I would maybe take some sales inventory and say, I need all these.
But how do you go about doing it if you're starting out and you notice that you have mindsets, say 1, 2, and 3, but 4 through 7 you're lacking? How do
Work on them. Just work on them. Yeah. I think if the goal is to be fanatical at it and to really be successful at it, then I think you need to have all of these mindsets. And if you are honest with yourself and you feel like you're lacking some of them, then work on them, right? You know, it's like a muscle. Being good at sales is like working a muscle. You just got to work it, but you'll get there for sure. And I would love to hear from you guys that have, stuck with this podcast this long. Where do you feel like you're at in your mindset about radical prospecting? Do you possess these 7 mindsets, these traits? Do you? If you don't, you feel like you should work on them or willing to work on them? Let's talk about it. You have any questions about this, or if you want to go a little deeper with anything having to do with real estate or sales or anything, or if you feel like you just want someone to talk to about this, let me know. I'm pretty easy to get a hold of. And for now, I think that's going to wrap this one up. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, wait, before you go, would you do us a favor? If you found any value in this content, would you please like and subscribe to it? Maybe even leave a comment. It really helps us out.